recorded the previous little clip this morning to illustrate how I incorporate the vibrato into my playing, and now we'll take a look at how it's set up and maybe some other ways to set it up for other uses. So stay tuned. Okay kids, it's medication time. In this video we're going to be examining setting up a bridge on this type of guitar, on the Strat, whether it be the vintage or more of a contemporary style bridge. Kind of the same concept. As you may know, in the past I may have mentioned that I study David Gilmour as an artist, and all the nuances and the little techniques that he uses to get the tones and the style that he has. And so one of the things that I've noticed about David Gilmour is that he has a tendency to use the vibrato on a lot of occasions when he's up in the higher register for his vibrato. And I use it, I think, a lot more than he does. But that's what I use this for. This is not a dive bomb guitar, not like Eddie Van Halen's, which I'm sure he has set much higher. Mine is just about a pick and a half off of the wood here, so I have some ability to go sharp with my notes, and that gives me my sharp half of my vibrato. So when you do a vibrato, I don't know if you can see, you can't see on the neck here, but when you do, you bend to pitch, and then faster than this, but you'll go a little bit above and a little bit below the note, which is what I'm achieving when I use the vibrato. So that's why I have it, so I can just get a little bit above the pitch and a little bit below the pitch. Now I could dive bomb it, but that's not what I use this guitar for. So anyway, it's not necessary to set it up like this. You can set it up any way you want. You can get the same effect. I could do the same thing if I had it up higher. It would still be effective. But the higher you go, the higher your action goes. And I can't lower my action much more on this bridge here. It's I probably got maybe a 1/16 of an inch lower I could go on the strings there, so I keep it where it's at. That's all I need out of it. So, but a artist by the name of Jeff Beck, you may have heard of him, has his a lot higher, and he does a lot more half step and whole step backward bending, with his vibrato this way sometimes. He does little taps on it. He's just like a phenomenon when it comes to using the vibrato. He's really, really talented at it. So with that, we're going to flip this guitar over and expose the cavity, and I'm going to show you a few things a few tricks that I did when I was setting this guitar up. This is part of the my first build series, so we'll do that next, after I figure out who just sent me a text message. Anyway, before we flip this thing over, I've prepared a piece of tape here, and for good reason, because we're going to take the bar off so we can avoid doing any damage with the bar on there by flipping it over. I can do it with this pad and it clears, but we're just going to take it off because we need it off anyway. So we unscrew it, and I know for a fact that I have a spring and a little ball bearing in there. They look kind of like this, and I don't want to lose those pieces by flipping it over and letting them come out, so I got a little piece of tape prepared here. You can use anything, a little dot of, let me clean the dust off there first, a little dot of like a sticker dot, little piece of tape like this, masking tape, whatever, and then you just cover it up so that the hardware does not fall out of there. Then you continue flipping it over. And in the last video, if you were paying attention, you've seen this, the back of this guitar. Set the bar aside, get my screwdriver set up. Should have had this done earlier, I know, but hey, if we don't have anything else these days, it's time. So I'm going to carefully take this off, and I will store the screws, there we go, in a safe place so they do not get lost. And once we get this off, we will see the inside of the cavity and some of the things that I've done in here. I don't even know if I remember, but I'm thinking that this is the one, and it may be my second build, which may be a series coming up after this, I don't know yet. Maybe my second build, but I think instead of soldering the ground, oh, you know what? That's right, this thing does not have a ground because of the active electronics. You can see some of the buffer garbage in there. So anyway, there's the inside of the cavity. You might be wondering what that red stuff is there. That is the what do you call it? The sound dampener technique that I use to keep the springs from vibrating when I'm playing the guitar. And I had a spring around here somewhere. Don't know where to put it. So yeah, this is one of the springs. I'm going to end up putting 3 in. But next I will demonstrate what I did with that. Real simple, inexpensive solution to vibrating strings. Okay, if I just said strings, I meant springs. But if I said springs, I meant springs. Anyway, here we are. Very inexpensive craft pipe cleaners. You make little stick animals out of and stuff, or whatever you want to do with them. But you can also take and use them to dampen your springs. I lost my spring again. Anyway, all I did was fold it over once. Of course, in there I've trimmed them to the right length. And then you just shove them through the hole. And put them in there and then trim them off, or you can measure it and then put them in there. But they definitely do a solid job of dampening the springs so that you don't have that buzzing sound when you're playing, annoying buzzing sound, which you most want to hear when you're not plugged in, but still. A lot of people stuff toilet paper or paper towels in there, and I've seen guys pull stuff like, you know, the softer foam than this inside of them. But this is really inexpensive. It does kind of a nice clean job. Another issue I had to contend with was the block being too long to where it pushed the springs up above the plane of the wood. I believe this body is thinner than a Fender Stratocaster body from Fender, so that's the reason why. Now I have about 1/8 of an inch clearance where it used to stick up about 1/8 of an inch and cause the cover to not fit properly. It would make it bend up, and I couldn't get the screws in properly. So there's that. Okay, if you're not familiar, let me tilt this up for a second. This obviously is what they call the claw. This is the block, the other side of the vibrato. That's what the bar is connected to. So when you tighten this bar, the tighter you make this claw, the tighter you make this claw, moving this in this way, the more it pulls this way and pulls it down towards the wood. The more you loosen it up, the higher it goes. So you know, this way, it goes higher up this way. So that's the basic idea. And when changing strings, and we'll go over this when I do change the strings on this beast, I am going to block it here, because the tension that I'm putting the same size strings on, so you really don't need to worry about blocking it this way. It's not a Floyd Rose, so you really don't need to worry about that. Taking all the strings off at once, putting them all on after that, so that I can clean the neck a little bit, the fretboard. And but I want to have this nice and tight, because one of the keys to setting up a floating bridge like this when you change strings is to have it nice and tight, almost like a hardtail. Stretch the strings until they are done being stretched, and then you can set up the vibrato. But if you do it, if you cut it loose, take the block out before you stretch the strings, you're going to have a hell of a time doing that. So with that, I'm not sure exactly what else I want to talk about at this point, except for maybe what's coming up in the future. Okay, needed to take a moment to gather my thoughts on what is coming up in the future as far as videos go. One video that I'll be doing is going to be dedicated specifically to filling and re-drilling misaligned holes in the body anywhere on the guitar, and one will be dedicated to the paint job on this guitar, and how I went about doing that. And then there will also be a video, as promised in earlier videos, on how to check the gear ratio on your tuners and see what exactly that is, so you can make an educated decision on whether you want to replace them or if you like them the way they are. There are advantages to higher gear ratios and advantages to lower gear ratios. So with that, we will leave you alone and let you get back to your life, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.